We're here in Warwick for a product showcase with the manufacturer MECALAC. On display we've got cab dumpers, wheeled loaders and a wheeled excavator as well. Let's go and take a look around.
So yeah, this is our 3.5 MDX. It's the latest model being added to the MDX dumper range. So 3.5 ton capacity with a cab. It's exactly the same cab as we use on our 6 and 9 ton dumpers as well. So you've still got all the space, all the visibility that we had in that machine before. It's a 2-stage hydrostatic transmission running on a Kubota engine, 37 kilowatts. So it's got a DPF, but you expect that now on every, on anything above 19 kilowatts, that is the standard. So in terms of being part of the MECALAC range, part of that that concept around that product was about improving operator access. So you got nice self-cleaning, easy access footsteps, you got nice clean grab handles, and then important for us was keeping a single grab rail on the right hand side, so you don't have to remove your hand and replace it somewhere else. Especially for anywhere that 3 points of contact is quite important. Curved windscreen on the cab brings the A-posts back, which gives you much better visibility out the front of the machine. We have nice big service doors, so it's mirrored on the other side, so all of your daily checks, everything is accessible from ground level. We carry over the same cast protection on the corners of the machine, so that's the same as you would see on our 6 and 9 ton as well, and that's got the LED road lights integrated into the back here as well. All MDX machines come with 4 LED work lights as standard, so 2 front, 2 rear, and so that's on the whole range, so on the 3.5, 6 or 9. Air conditioning is optional on all those machines as well, so even on this 3.5 you can have air conditioning if you want it. You've got the 6 or 8mm plate on the back here just to give some protection to the cooling pack. Something we've always had on all of our, on our whole dumper range for a very long time has been this solid central panel to keep the centre of that cooling pack nice and protected. It's quite a vulnerable position there if you're reversing around onto site. Yeah, that's ultimately the introduction of the 3.5. It's an extension to the range from where we've been with the 6 and 9 ton previously. And the key thing for us was offering that same size cab on the smaller product, so keeping a consistent level of comfort and operator familiarity throughout the range. So the 6 ton that we have here, obviously the 6 MDX and the 9 MDX have been launched for a number of years now. However, this is the latest machine with a hydrostatic transmission. So one of very few 6 and 9 ton ranges in the market now that do offer a fully hydrostatic option there as well. On the 6 ton, it's a single stage hydrostatic drive, so from 0 up to 25k, just through the single pedal. There's no switches or anything like that you need to worry about on there. Obviously, we're starting to see it now on the smaller machines, say like the 3 tons. People are moving away from mechanical transmissions and going towards the hydrostats because of the improvements in safety, mostly, that you take your foot off the pedal, the machine stops. With a mechanical, you take your foot off the throttle pedal, but that machine's still going to drive. They're not that, the mechanical transmissions aren't always the nicest things to use, whereas hydrostat is far nicer. So on the 3 ton machines, we've seen that people are moving towards that hydrostat. We think we'll start seeing that on the 6 ton, as we move forward. In Europe, hydrostat is pretty much what everyone looks for, and that's where this machine will be focused initially, will be for the European market. But like I say, we think couple of years down the line, and the UK customers will start seeing the benefits of hydrostat on the bigger size machines as well. Like I say, it's becoming more accepted in the smaller machines anyway, so hopefully we'll see that translate onto the 6 and 9 tons as well. So we offer hydrostat now in 6 ton, 9 ton, and of course the 3.5 in the MDX range. So yeah, hydrostat will only be available on MDX. You won't see that on the standard dumpers. Essentially, this is our premium offering to the customer, whereas your TA is, you know, classic rental machine, nice and simple, gets the job done. But this offers, you know, that little bit extra. The MDX range, 3.5 ton included, is the only cab dumper on the market that has the isolated cab mounted on AV mounts. So you can see them just here. So it just gives a level of isolation between the main machine chassis and then up into the cabin. So a bit of noise, vibration, isolation going through to the operator. This is actually one of our demonstrator field follow machines, which is why it's looks like it's been used. Now, we know in the UK kind of the loader market isn't massive. However, since the 2CX Airmaster kind of stopped becoming a product, there's been a little hole in the market for a little loader that has the ability to run, you know, handheld attachments like breakers and things like that. Now, from the factory, this machine offers hydraulic couplings at the back of the machine. So that gives us that ability to connect hydraulic breakers, maybe, you know, hydraulic saws, anything like that, to the rear of the machine. That gives us that, you know, will hopefully help us fill that gap in that market for the machine to kind of replace that Airmaster. As it stands, the whole AX range use Deutz Stage 5 engines, all 2.9 litre, 50 or 55 kilowatts. They all have a hydraulic quick coupler on the front as standard. And this one has the optional larger wheel set because it's the AX 1000. The number, so 700, 850, 1000, relates to the capacity of the bucket. So an AX 700 would have a 0.7 cubic metre bucket, an AX 850 be a 0.85, and the 1000 be a 1 cubic metre. So it's quite straightforward how the numbering works. The machine itself offers really good operator access. So compared to a lot of other loaders on the market, you know, you've got a single step and you're in the cab. So in those tarmacking applications where, you know, you could be jumping in and out, using the breaker, moving some asphalt, you know, it's very easy and safe to climb in and out with that, you know, particularly low access height. Nice clear grab handles, you know, very simple controls. The joystick is directly onto the valve, so you get a nice bit of feedback when you're using it, nice bit of feel. So yeah, it's quite a nice operator's cab. Exceptional visibility as well. We've got a very narrow loader beam, so the visibility from there over the top of the loader to the bucket, or in particular pallet forks, really does, it makes a massive difference. It's very clean, everything's very well protected because your bucket cylinder is inside the loader, so your bucket cylinder is completely protected from everything. Like I say, hydraulic coupler is standard. I believe that's a universal, like wheeled loader type coupler, like you'd see on Volvos or Cats or Case or, you know, Liebherr, that sort of thing. So that's a pretty common type. It does also employ, they call it self-stabilizing concept. So whereas typically if you imagine the center pivot on the dumper, when it oscillates in a straight line like this. The oscillation angle on the loader actually goes upwards, so the oscillation is more like that. What that means is the actual center of gravity of the machine is below this point of oscillation, which means it's always trying to pull itself stable. Essentially the weight is trying to bring itself back to center, which is what helps with the machine stability. It's not necessarily the best description of it, but it does make a difference. But say, because if you can imagine, obviously your center of gravity being above a point of pivot, it's going to try and pull you across, whereas under it, it's trying to pull you back into that stable position. So yeah, essentially that center pivot is angled almost at that sort of angle there. So you still get a good level of oscillation, but it does help keep the back of the machine quite planted compared to other articulated loaders. In terms of service access, everything is accessible from ground level. We've also got the ability to fit a diesel pump, so if you want to fill out of drums and things like that, you can connect the hose and fill out of drums. Basically, just very, very simple operator service access. Essential for, if you make it easy, they might actually do it. That's kind of the key, really. So it is, you can see there, everything's very easy, well protected with the counterweight as well. You've then got a secondary compartment here, so if you need to look at your control valve, you've got access directly onto it as well. Same with the isolator and the battery, it's well protected in the machine. If you were to connect a breaker, there's your hydraulic connections there. So just within the counterweight, so nice and protected. This machine, this one's quite high spec. It even has a hand throttle. So say if you want to run maybe a sweeper or something with a high flow rate, we can increase the engine speed without actually altering the travel speed. So if you've got something with, like say, high flow rate, maybe even a plain tarmac mill, we can up the flow rate with the engine revs, and then we can just travel the machine on the pedal. So it's quite good in that respect. For the breaker though, we don't need the hand throttle. At idle, it provides about 25 litres a minute, which is pretty suitable for the majority of handheld breakers, pretty much. So yeah, that's the AX. You'll see when you come round the front, you've got the big wide windscreen, but also the whole front of that cab at the top is glass as well. So you really have got visibility right to the top of your lift height. It does makes a very big difference. So yeah, that's the AX, the only one in the country. So this is the latest Stage 5 8 MCR. So this has now had quite a big refresh since the previous model. A lot of styling updates, and then of course inside the cab we've updated to become more in line with what we've had in the MWR for the last 3 years. So yeah, a lot more modern, a lot nicer for the operator to use. We've got a nice multi-function screen in there now. The styling is a lot more up to date, so brings it in line with the MWR. Functionally, there isn't a lot that has changed. It's still 10 kilometers an hour track speed. You've still got the ability to run it like a track loader with the big loader bucket against the blade, for high pushing force. Still incredibly compact. There's functionally, there's not a whole lot that has changed with the MCR. It's more the move to Stage 5 and the improved cab and the improved styling. The best thing with this is to see them working, really, to kind of appreciate what it can offer in terms of compactness, reach, lift capacity. This machine, as an 8-ton machine, will usually lift between 30 and 40% of its own weight. So you're looking up to about 3 tons at a 3 meter radius, which is pretty good for a machine of that size. So yeah, that's the MCR. In terms of, I don't know how much hands-on or how close you guys have been to one of these before. Generally, like I say, not a lot has changed in terms of this, but service access is pretty good. Your engine sits here at the back of the machine behind the counterweight, so you've got your oil, your air filter, fuel caps in on the side panel there behind the door, so that's all quite easy to get to. And then on the side panel over here, we've got access to the main control valve, and then the cooling pack and the battery and things like that. So generally, service access is something that we try and make as good as possible, and we like to think we've done a reasonable job on what is a pretty compact machine, really. Trying to fit everything in the space that we've got here. So with the latest version, so this new Stage 5, we also have side cameras and rear camera options as well. On the 10 MCR, so the largest machine, the side camera becomes standard. So we have 3 models, 6, 8 and 10, and that's the operating weight essentially, or at least as close to as it gets, really. 8's probably in the UK definitely the most popular that we've sold so far, but I think globally the 6 is probably the most popular now. There's a lot being sold in the US and Australia, because they're combined. People are going out of compact excavators, and they're, in the US they'd have a compact excavator and a skid steer, and now they buy a 6 MCR, and that's kind of where we're pitching it in that market. In the UK, these machines typically are going into slightly more specialist contractors, maybe guys doing a bit of forestry, a lot of agricultural work with flail mowers, things like that. One of the big benefits that we offer on all MECALAC excavators below 12 tons is independent hydraulic systems for drive and everything else. So if you think of it as, if you draw a line essentially above the tracks, that is one hydraulic system and this is another. So if you want to run a flail mower at 100 litres a minute, for example, on this 8, you can still track at full speed and there's no loss of flow. On a typical excavator, as soon as you either start to track or slew, all your flow's gone. It's taken by everything else. So that really is one of the key benefits, and why in the UK we're, it's not a cheap machine. So we're looking at the specialist guys that go out doing quite different work that can see the benefit in having the machine like this, that can do all the, lots of other functions. It's not very often you see a 0.6 cubic metre front loader bucket on a 8-ton digger. Onto the 9 MWR. So essentially this is the wheeled version of the 8 MCR. Travel speed up to 35 kilometers an hour on the road. It's a Deutsch 2.9 litre 55 kilowatt stage 5 engine, which is the same as used in the 8 MCR. Again, the big concept around the MWR was trying to improve stability and make the machine a lot more familiar for excavator operators. It's quite common you get an excavator operator won't want to jump in a duck because they see them as being very tall, they're very wobbly essentially. With MWR, we dropped the slew ring quite substantially. There's about a 3-inch step in the chassis there, so the slew ring is 3 inches lower than you would see on a typical machine. But then also the way we packaged everything in the upper structure was so that we could allow these big radiuses in the corner, so that's where the axle oscillation is taken up. On a traditional wheeled excavator, this would be the base of your upper structure. Ours is packaged in a way that it's there, so it's far lower. Centre of gravity is a lot lower, makes the machine a lot more stable, makes access a lot easier, and the access is mirrored both sides, so it's exactly the same whichever side you climb up the machine basically. The other benefit with it, with our design, is we've dropped the fuel tank into the undercarriage. So this is your fuel tank. We then have your fuel pump, if you're refilling out of drums, accessible from ground level. And then on the opposite side to that, we've got a big toolbox. So you've got straps or slings and chains and stuff like that can all go in the toolbox on the other side. Again, service access, we've tried to keep it as simple as possible. So we've got nice big doors. The layout is pretty much exactly the same as the MCR. So you've got your main control valve here with your cooling pack, and then you've got your engine at the back with all your dipsticks and air filters. We've even integrated a step into the blade. So if you lower the blade down to the floor, you've got a nice grippy step there, and then you've got a nice step in the centre that allows you to access the engine bay if you need to do anything else in there. So it's quite quite simple, quite safe. It's quite a simple thing just to put a step on a blade to make life a bit easier. That's really it on the MWR. Say the machine itself hasn't really changed since we launched it in 2017. There would have been minor upgrades throughout that. The big thing is it's now a stage 5 machine. No AdBlue. The whole the 7, 9 and 11 MWR, so that's a compact range. They're all 75 horsepower or 55 kilowatts, so they're no AdBlue. So they're nice and easy to maintain and look after on site. When you move to the 15 MWR, so that's our biggest machine, that is I think it's 100 kilowatts, so that does have AdBlue. But that's basically the range. So yeah, that's nice simple walk around.